when I read the newspapers or go to ecological economics conferences, I sometimes feel a bit depressed because our world really is in a bit of a mess. We're destroying our environment. We're not really getting to grips with poverty and inequality. So I think that we really need to move to a different kind of economy when we want to tackle these problems that is more focused on human well-being and environmental limits and less on economic growth. So some people have called that steady-state economy, and there are lots of ideas for policies around how we could actually get there. And we've heard quite a few today, like reduced working hours or a minimum income, for example. When you talk to politicians, they're very skeptical of these policies because they think they're bad for the economy, with which they mean mostly jobs and GDP growth. And I think there's, it does point to kind of a big gap in our knowledge because we don't really know what the transition to a steady-state economy might look like in terms of stuff like wages, inflation, jobs, financial stability. And these kind of things are usually looked at by macroeconomists who use mathematical models to study them. But unfortunately, most of these models are not very suitable to study the transition to a steady-state economy because they might either ignore the environment completely or they just assume growth from the start. And so what I'm interested in to look at for my master's dissertation is how can we actually develop better models that might actually help us to get to a steady-state economy. And I'm not the first one who's interested in this. So what I'm doing for my dissertation is actually looking at the work of other researchers which has come up over the last few years who have tried to develop new models, and it's called ecological macroeconomics. And I'm comparing these models to see how well they could be used to test certain policies that have been proposed for a steady-state economy. So the questions I'm interested in is how do these models work, what kind of assumptions do they make about behavior of firms, and what kind of elements of a steady-state economy can they include and what might be missing from them. So the really interesting questions I think that are coming out of there, I haven't got any results yet, it's still in the process, but are really about these things that are usually not included in economic models, stuff like not-for-profit enterprises or non-monetary aspects of human well-being. And I think there are a lot of interesting questions and discussions that need to be there around whether we should include them in these models, whether we can include them in these models, and how we are going to go about doing that.
Okay, finally some questions for Lukas. Don't give him too easy time.
Yes?
How many models are there approximately that you look at that try to do this?
So at the moment, I think what I have identified as ecological macroeconomics, which is not really well defined, but that's around, I would say, probably 10 to 15 different ones.
International.
Sorry?
Internationally.
Oh, internationally.
Yeah.
You mean the models are on an international scale? Or
No, I mean, so...
Oh, no, yeah, it's all over the world, yeah. So, I mean, there are loads of macroeconomic models,
Yeah.
but I'm not looking at those. Yeah. I think you were first.
To the extent that unemployment is a social or political choice rather than an economic one, perhaps you could see that, okay, in the golden age of capitalism in the 50s and 60s there was almost zero unemployment, but that's really changed in the neoliberal period. From, I guess, from Marx's perspective, would be to create a reserve army of labour that's desperate.
Can you
for
speak
jobs.
a bit louder?
So, yeah, I was just wondering whether you had like a social-political perspective on this problem rather than a purely economic one, because my feeling is unemployment is a social or political choice that we make right now that's heavily influenced by neoliberal policies. And
You
so
mean
maybe in a steady-state economy, an aspect of looking into this problem would be that social and political aspect of
I'm actually
Maybe
not.
comment,
Yeah, maybe we
comment.
should talk about that later because I'm
Yeah.
not exactly sure whether I understood your question
Okay.
right.